All right. This is Dave Blair. We're gonna play with some delay. I love, you guys know I'm a big fan of delay. I find an appropriate pick. Gravity pick today. I like the gravity picks. They're a little expensive, but they're pretty cool. They got the nice bite to them. Anyway, so we got a bunch of delays, and today I really want to focus on the concept of analog delays and also digital delays that are trying to copy analog, like bucket brigade type sounds. It's situated here. So, I was a couple weeks ago. I was just kind of the heck of it. I just pulled out this old Maxon AD80. Not a super expensive pedal. You could pick one up for $125, $150 used, and it's got it has a really completely different sound than I was using the UA, and the UA is kind of known as it does a phenomenal replication, digital replication of tape and bucket brigade, and we'll hear that, but analog has its own thing. I haven't heard a digital pedal that replicates the sound of analog, and if you like it, it's really cool. So you got something like here's a little slap back with a little more prominent. Right? Now jam is also another analog delay. All right, a little uncomfortable here. There we go. Let me get the slap back setting. Funny thing is, it doesn't seem that prominent, right? But if let's say you did something, a little crunch and a bridge pickup as a humbucker. Let's take it off. You don't realize how much of an effect it has. You don't notice it until you take it away. And on the Maxon, very different. I mean, this one's a little darker, a little mushier. But if you want that, it kind of has this murky thing. That's its own. Like thickens it up. You know? Now this isn't as let me put it on a little bit of a higher. That was a preset, so what was on the dials isn't relative to what you were hearing until I changed the dial, obviously. So. So the thing about these analog delays is they're a little bit darker and they can only handle so much audio. So once you start playing over it, it kind of ducks out of the way and gives you, let's try the diamond. So that has a little bit of a slap back on it. So that repeat is a little more specific. Jam. I mean, I made it a little over the top, so you hear the slap back a little more just because the setting a little higher. But you hear this one, it's not as dark, so it kind of starts a little bit kind of over fighting what I'm playing, or kind of being, it sounds like they're kind of playing together at the same time. So if it starts to get mushy, or not mushy, but kind of stepping on itself. With these analog ones, and it's more even prominent with longer delay times. It may be there a lot, and it's big and thick, but it's there's like a high cut on it, and it also degrades, and it kind of does whatever, it's analog stuff, so it kind of just, it's not an exact replication of what you played, and that's a good thing in that context because you don't step on your own playing. Better example, well, while we're at it, might as well do the UA. Usually your slapbacks are like a single delay. Somewhere around there. Put it off. On. All completely different, but all sound really cool. Try the longer delay time. Heck with these slapbacks. Go for like, well, the thing is, to be compared to Maxon, we have to stay at 300 milliseconds, which is still a decent amount of time. A little wetter and a little long, more delays, a little more feedback. Try to play a little bit faster run so you can see if it steps on itself or not. Even though you hear there's a lot going on, you can still hear the notes, and then the delay stuff is kind of underneath it. Let's use a difference. The timing closer to the Maxon's 300 milliseconds. There. Not a scientific test. The settings aren't exactly the same, but the timing repeats and mixes similar. Trying to get you to hear the vibe, the difference in the vibe and sound, tonal qualities of these different types. So this one is a little clear. The repeats are more and more specific. You notice how it's kind of it's getting a little blurry because it's like it's kind of stepping on itself. You know, for the UA. great sound. That one's kind of supposed to sound like the Deluxe Memory Man, which it kind of does. The Deluxe Memory Man is analog, but it's a little brighter. So let's have a straight comparison. With all I have that Zen drive, the gain all the way up, so you're getting a lot of noise. But really interesting. They all sound good. I'd say the Diamond the delay is a little more specific, and sometimes it'll, if you're doing a fast run and it's very wet, it's going to step on itself. You don't have that problem with the Maxon or the Jam, and you know what? Starlight does a really good job of like a brigade, but it's more like a Deluxe Memory Man, which is kind of on the brighter side. Timings are slightly different, but this. He's a little bit brighter on the top. Even in the Diamond. See, there's none of that on the top. Which I think is a good thing. Oh. Something high you could hear. That chink is only on the initial one, and then the repeats don't have it, which is. On this one, it's not as sharp on the first repeat, but it's still much more so than on these analog delays. And that's very clear, but beautiful. Now let's just try modulation. So my favorite modulation on the Diamond, if you hold this down, there's a couple of different modes, but if you set it up, you could set it up so if you hold this down, it switches to the modulation. So this beautiful modulation. Put the modulation on. something. That's C mode. I forget. I haven't read the manual in a while, but. It's really beautiful too, you know. What Jam has one of the extreme modes. The second extreme mode is like a tape. Turn it on first, and it even sounds better. Max it out. Notice my second preset is the extreme mode, which has the tape sound. And if you have the modulation all the way up, much more subtle than these guys with the modulation. You can hear it. Maxon doesn't have any modulation. But it's still cool. So I mean, the modulation I think is better and more noticeable on these. There's also a vibrato mode on this, which is not the same as kind of the modulation on these, but I remember how to get into that mode. I think you hold this down, and I think switch, no. I forget how to do it. Tells you how much I use that mode. It goes woo woo woo, but it's not quite the same as that. It's more vibrato. You have to see it in other demos. It doesn't really behoove us to really get into it right now anyway, because I'm just really trying to see modulation, like this kind of modulation, and it doesn't quite do that. That's much more of an extreme effect. UA also has a really nice. What I'd say about the UA, it's more like almost it has to be like more like a tape thing that's trying to has inconsistent changes and warbles and stuff, whereas the Diamond is just a straight like I guess chorus. It's nice. It's a really nice sound. It's like how to choose. I mean, they all. Usually it's like, oh wow, I'll get one that's just the my favorite one, and then I'll just sell the other ones. But you can't. I mean, I've sold a lot of other delays, but these, I also have a T-Rex replicator, which also has its own thing. But I can't see myself selling any one of these because the modulation on this is fantastic. This sound and other sounds. It's a good workhorse. It does everything. Only thing I don't like about this, well, two things: the preset and It only has one preset, which is annoying. Whereas this has, multiple presets. If, and I can understand, like, this guy doesn't have presets, this guy doesn't have presets, but they're, it's just straight tap tempo. This one has all sorts of, you could do tape, you could just do all sorts of different parameters on them, but how am I gonna get, I need to get, like on this, I go to slapback to, on a gig, on a real gig, don't help me to have a great flat slapback and a great Pink Floyd and a great this, and 3 or 4 different settings. I can't get to them in between the, on the fly. Then I want to go some fuzz and do like some crazy stuff. Song starts and you want to just do it straight. Song, right? So, or vice versa, you're doing a rhythm pattern, so you need, if you're going to be doing different things, you really need that. I mean, you could just do it tap tempo, but really the settings are different. And you might want one with modulation. So, have all these great effects. And this is the pet peeve I have about all the UAs, is they only have one preset, which is silly. And I have the same problem with the Extr. It has got like 4 or 5 different, it has the vibrato, it has a phaser, it has a chorus, it has a flanger, it has the harmonic, well, not harmonic tremolo, but this sound. So I have a preset for the chorus because I use that the most, but then if I want to go to phaser, I got to go here and switch the setting, and it might then, but the knobs may not, have the setting that I want, and if I want to then go to vibrato, those, I basically really have 2 sounds. I have to pick which 2 of the 5 or 6 that I like I'm going to use at any given gig, or plan out. Oh, on this one I have a similar setting, and I just have to switch to the phaser mode and then just change the speed. That's just stupid. I mean, it makes it. What's the point of having all that? You can't. It's like here's a Ferrari, but you can only go 60 miles an hour. Okay, thanks. No thanks. But I still use it because it really does, But, I don't know. Might as well have a Ripley Fall, which only does 2 things. But so what? Because it sounds great, and, I can only do 2 things with this too anyway. But it does have some cool effects. I just got to, on any given gig, some nights I'll try the vibrato, other times I'll try the phaser, I'll try the harmonic trem or whatever it's called. Other trem one that's really cool. It's like changes the speed. But that's a whole other video. But anyway, and also if you could just darken the repeats, I could probably use this and get it in closer into the zone of the Maxon on this and be good with this. If I had if I had a tone control, the Echos has a control. The D1 has a tone control. Capistan has a tone control. Why not let the people, I mean, DMM's great, but sometimes it's too bright. And we want more of a Maxon thing. Either that, or they give you a new preset that you download or whatever that has like more of a Maxon type delay. That's what I'd love to have. Anyway, or the option, Anyway, that's my story when I'm sticking to it. But let's just try a couple of last things just for fun. So let's do a fuzz lead. Had that mix all the way up. Try with the bridge pickup. Just do like a grinds on there. That's pretty cool. less dark. We'll try closer setting to the other one. On this one more than anyone, you play fast, it doesn't, it feels it up on the bottom, but doesn't fight its, itself, doesn't step on itself. Maybe the last thing, put a little chorus on, and just get a chorus, with the leg is really nice. Take the modulation off because we don't want the chorus to double on the modulation. Now with the delay on. Modulation off by this one too. Anyway, they're all great, but for certain things, the Maxon has this dark thing. I could definitely see it in if I want something spooky and dark, or the jam just sits in the mix. I'm just talking about sound. I love the fact that this is the presets, so that might keep it on the board, more so than some of the others. Even the Starlight. The Starlight is good, but there's sometimes I want the darker thing and I can't do it. They all have their own. Depending on my mood, I might take one out, but I could gig with any one of these and it sounds great. And they all have a different vibe. But these two kind of have a vibe more than anything, their own sound. They do one thing and they do that thing well. Max sounds really vibey. This sounds beautiful and it's flexible. It does a bunch of other things too. It does tape, has the modulation, and it's flexible, but it's not a jack of all trades and master of none. It's jack of few trades and it does great on all of them. But there's only one preset and I can't dark it. Yeah. So if I did, then it might replace this. I don't know, I'd have to compare it. And then the diamond is just a good, all around. Tap tempo delay, it sounds good. Not too bright, not too dark, but it doesn't sound as vibey as, let's put the modulation on, it's fantastic. So you gotta figure out what's important to you. I don't need 50 billion sounds. If I have one good, let's say this has one good sound, but then between, different settings, obviously, you do a tap, you do a longer one, it sits in the mix good, it's got a nice vibe, it works good with the chorus. This is what I'm using lately. But, playing all these, I'm like, I like this sound too. You know, if I had a bigger board, maybe I'd have both and pick and choose on any given night, but, you know, I'm trying to keep it limited. But anyway, hope you guys, you know, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I have definitely opinions on all this stuff. They all sound good. But again, like right now, I'm gigging with the Jam. If it didn't have the presets, then I might consider like a Mythos Oracle, which is a tap tempo. Not quite a version of this. I think it's even a better sound from. It's supposed to be better sounding than this because this is the cheapest Maxon. There's other Maxons that have a little more of, I don't know, supposedly sound better, but I haven't really A/B'd them. I'm curious. I also like the Maxon sounds. I like this one. Anyway, tell me what you think. Anyway, and by the way, only thing I was going to say is the I don't know if I mentioned it or not. As far as analog delays that have presets, up to a few years ago, it was rare that you'd have analog delays with even tap tempo. Chase Bliss came out, you know, with one of Total Recall. Now Mythos recently came out with the Oracle, which is like, again, a Maxon with tap tempo. There's a tap tempo Memory Man. And then, but as far as presets, this is only the presets that I could think of that's an analog one. There's a lot of digital replications like the Empress, D1, Echoes, Starlight. But as far as real analog that have presets, this one and the Sur are the only two that I could think that I know of. And the Sur is really expensive and has 128 presets. It's overkill unless you're analog fanatic and you want to have 128 presets of analog delay. And it's from what I hear, it sounds fantastic from the demos I've heard. But I don't need to pay $700 for a delay to get 128 presets. I think this works for me, and who knows, I might change my mind tomorrow. But anyway, let me know what you think. I want to really hear comments because it's just, you know. And I do these just for me, just as much as anybody else, just to hear back, you know, what it sounds like. Because sometimes it's, you know, sometimes I'll watch a video from a year ago and I'm like, oh, I forgot that pedal had that feature. It sounds really cool. I got to use that setting more. Anyway, have fun with your pedals and let me know if you buy one of these.